We've got to make sure that we are clear at a distance. And what we mean by this is within that tiny window of time where they are paying attention to your ad, your message, whether it be print, radio, TV, digital, or a social media post, you got to capture them. And how do we capture that attention? So let's start by understanding what people are actually seeing and perceiving, because I think that's going to surprise some of you.
So there's limited information that are captured by our eyes and our ears and all of our senses. But even the information that is captured by our brain and by our sensory systems, the brain can't process all that information. It can't attend to all of it and bring it into conscious perception and act upon all of it. So it has to be very selective in how it makes a quick decision at determining which information to bring through and engage upon and which information to discard. And so it turns out that when we think about how we build a picture of the world and what customers see, and even when we acknowledge all of these limitations, the limitations are even more than we typically think of. We think that our brain is capturing this sort of photographic image of the scene, but that's not actually the input that comes in. What comes in is more like this, where the location where our eyes fixate has a very fine grasp and fine detail of what it's looking at. But all that outer portion is processed outside of that focal point, and it's actually blurry, because the brain has to fill in that missing information and construct a coherent, cohesive reality for us out of incomplete information.
So take those two concepts. The brain is actively filtering out things to ignore and is really good at it. And we don't perceive what's in front of us. Some pretty major implications for how we approach marketing.
The brain wants to extract very quickly what is the gist of the image, basically. And so it actually gets this blurry resolution picture of what's out there so that it can quickly get a sense, is there something meaningful that I need to further process and further pay attention to? And that means that we can actually look at our advertisements and ask, is this brain processing system that sees the world this way going to get our intended message in that very quick, brief instant, within less than 100 milliseconds with the information that we're trying to convey?
We spend a lot of time talking about brand codes, things that are mental shortcuts for overall brand value. And this is one of those examples of what we mean, where images, in this case, are shortcuts where we see a portion of it and our brain fills in the rest of that story. We know what this is for, what it means, and what the overall context is.
Yeah, so this is a McDonald's ad where you can see that they took this property throughout every single frame. And what they did is they showed the meals that famous people would order at McDonald's.
McDonald's did a great job of doing two things. One, if you only give that ad a fraction of attention, you're immediately drawn in. It's got brand code, so you know immediately what it is. And then it's got a narrative structure that makes you want to see the rest of it. It continues to reveal. So it's a good way of both bringing you in that fraction, but keeping you there. But using brand codes is critical to long-term successful advertising. Take this image on the screen in front of you, you see a mountain. Immediately you begin thinking, well, there's only a couple of things that this could be for. You probably have already landed on the right one, and you've already begun filtering of what the overall message that they're going to have with this when you realize it's an ad for Coors Light.
Yeah, so every single frame of the ad can be processed very quickly, even through pathways that get the gist of what you're seeing. And you can see that they've tied that imagery of the snowy mountain to the actual product by placing it on the product and the notion of refreshment, cold refreshment.
So taking small images, in this case, small components, making them clear at a distance.
This video is from our webinar series, and you can check out intermarkgroup.com/webinar to watch the full series. We're a full-service advertising agency that embeds a layer of behavioral science in our creative. And you can check out the information below to learn more about us and to contact us to help you solve your marketing challenges.